Jai Sri Ram, friends. Welcome to Bharat Marg. Welcome, Vinay Ji. Thank you for joining us again on Bharat Marg. It's a very, very interesting topic today. That is Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, Freedom Bogie of Canada. Okay, everywhere he goes, what he says, oh, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and how these guys absolutely slaved Canada in the name of freedom was exposed by none other than the Federal Court of Canada. We will discuss that with Vinay Ji on this. It's incredible news how the Liberal and NDP and the guys join hands together in enslaving Canada, folks. That's a topic for the day, and how they got exposed by the Canadian Federal Court. And before going further, friends, please make sure to like the video, comment on the video, share the video with as many people as you can, because with your support only we will be able to reach out to as many people as you can. And now you can get connected to us with through our WhatsApp, which is +16479644790, to get our one dharmic message every day, to learn and stay connected with the Sanatan Dharma, and also to donate and support our work if you like it. Okay. Thank you, Vinay Ji, for joining us. Appreciate it. Now, Vinay Ji, how do you see it? Justin Trudeau, everywhere he goes, he talks about, freedom of speech. It's like a cliche. He says everything. You know what I mean? Freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And, farmers protest in India has to be allowed. Both these guys, and one is see here. It's a very, very incredible thing. Very irony. See his buddy here. Okay, let's see his buddy. Okay, and this guy cannot. Jagmeet Singh is not allowed to enter into India because he's banned from entering India because he's because of his terrorist connections, Khalistani terrorist. Okay, and these two guys were saying about, they were teaching freedom to a mother of democracy into India. And now the federal government says how they have punished loving families, okay, children, women in the freedom convoy, just because they asked question against their atrocity, okay, and how they not only put the emergency rule and take away their money, take away their freedom, frozen their bank account, made their life miserable, and took them to jail and ruined their life. Now the federal government says, the federal court says, oh, guys, sorry, you did a wrong thing. And they give a slap on the wrist. How do you see it?
Yeah. So a couple of days ago, the Federal Court of Canada, led by Judge Richard G. Mosley, wrote that while the protests reflected an unacceptable breakdown of public order, the government did not meet various tests for using the emergency law, which expanded police powers, among other things, and compelled tow truck drivers to help clear the streets. So it was brutal, actually. So just to recall, a couple of years ago, when the Freedom Convoy descended on Ottawa because they were protesting against the COVID mandate that Trudeau brought in, and they basically said, you know what, give us the freedom to do what we need to do, because there's a lot of these trucks were plying back and forth between Canada and the US. And many of these trucks that were transporting stuff from US to Canada, they had to come into the border and they had to be quarantined for 48 or 72 hours. And they were not able to deliver stuff. Imagine fresh produce like bananas, apples, or whatever, right? Sitting in these trucks. And for 72 hours, if they're sitting in that hot truck, guess what's going to happen? The thing is going to rot before it reaches the grocery store. And who's going to be blamed? The driver is going to be blamed, and he's going to become responsible for the millions of dollars that the truck could be carrying, right? So this is why they said, hey, guys, give us a little bit of a leeway. I mean, we are...
and Vinay Ji, this is only for drivers. not for Justin Trudeau and his family who went for vacation, breaking the law put by them on the ordinary people in the name of COVID.
Yeah, 100%. Because you know what, the next day when he came back from his vacation, he was back in his office and all that. So that's a different argument. But for the truck drivers, they made their lives very miserable, and these guys had no choice because they were now incurring a lot of losses, and this was coming out of their personal pockets because the truck companies, the logistical companies, or the companies that they were transporting the goods for, they started blaming them. Hey, like, you can't just willy-nilly say that three days you are at the border or whatever. That's not my concern. Your job is to deliver the goods, and you've not delivered the goods. You failed to deliver the goods, so you're responsible for so much money or so much losses, right? So this is what irritated and upset the truck drivers, and they descended in Ottawa to kind of protest. It was a silent protest. They did not carry guns. They did not carry any, batons and brickbats and whatever, and go around destroying what do you call it, the government buildings or anything. They were just parked in Ottawa, and they were silently protesting. But Trudeau didn't like it. Trudeau disappeared for a few days, and then when he came back, he realized that these truck drivers are not going to go anywhere. So then he brought the emergency law. So this is just as a background for the benefit of the listeners, right? So now,
Vinay Ji, just not Trudeau. Okay, forget about the guy who signed with him for that. Don't forget the guy who signed with that. Jagmeet Singh.
NDP leader. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like this because the government of Canada is right now a minority government. They cannot make any major decisions unless NDP supports this particular policy, right? So NDP in this case supported the policy, and unfortunately it was a harmful policy, and people went to the court and they said, hey, this is not right. In fact, as an extension of this whole emergency, they actually made a list of all these truck drivers, and they actually put a hold on their bank accounts. Okay, they were not allowed to access their bank accounts, and these guys, poor guys, sitting in the cold in the middle of the winter in Ottawa, they were frustrated because the thing is, they were unable to go anywhere. They had kids with them because they brought their kids as well, their family with them, and now they were unable to actually buy groceries because their bank accounts were on hold. And then the union of these truck drivers, they did a crowdfunding, and the government of Canada said, oh, this is illegal. The crowdfunding that they did was illegal because they wanted to hurt them where it would hurt. But it's not right, it's not fair for a democratic government to curb any protests, right?
All in the name of freedom of speech. Never forget that.
Trudeau keeps talking about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and whatever, right? But end of the day, if you put a curb on somebody's right to protest, then that's not fair. So these guys were sitting in the trucks, and unfortunately, they were unable to buy groceries through their own, through their own bank accounts and stuff like that, because it was all on. They were frozen, and now, luckily, the union raised some money, and they brought in, they helped the people who are there to support themselves and survive. But the person who actually raised the funds actually was arrested, and they said that the money that was raised was illegal. So that's another case that's probably going on. But I'm coming back to the freedom protest itself. A bunch of people went to the courts, and 2 years later, finally, the federal court ruled that the protests reflected an unacceptable breakdown of public order while the protest reflected an unacceptable breakdown of public order, the government did not meet various tests for using the emergency law. So basically, they misuse the powers, and this is basically what the New York Times actually published this, saying that the court finds Trudeau overreached by using emergency law to end blockade. So that's basically just to give you
Absolutely. And Vinay Ji, this is not kind of a unique case. Means they have completely trampled on freedom of speech. But when he goes out everywhere, he talks about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and all those junk. But people were monitored. The Canadian police, when you call them, people don't know. Many of the viewers who see this video, you touch upon this. We have video on this on Bharatmar. If there is a break-in happens, many times the police don't show up for 2 to 3 days to come there because they say they are short-staffed. They cannot come everywhere. But every social media post was monitored and the people were warned if they are acting against the government. Is that right or wrong, Vinay?
No, I mean, like, the thing is, the end of the day, right, when they had to when they brought the emergency law, there were hundreds and hundreds of police officers who came and started willy-nilly arresting the truckers, okay, who were protesting. All right. And the only reason that was given to them was, you're disrupting the peace in the community. But what were they doing? They had just parked over. And I think you may have a picture of that or not, but you'll see if you look up New York Times, see that. So that's one of the pictures, right? So basically, they were just protesting and they were just parked there.
And many of them were women and children.
Exactly, because many of the truckers brought their family with them, right? Because they couldn't leave them back home. Because the protests they didn't know the finite time when it was going to end. So they just continued protesting. And they basically falsely started implicating some of these people, saying that you're carrying guns and you're carrying arms and all that stuff, right? But the thing is, none of them had guns, none of them had any arms, and none of them had any ammunition, and none of them had any ulterior
They were playing baseball there, really.
Exactly.
And distributing food and etc. It was a loving atmosphere in Ontario.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So basically the court said the harm, I agree that the harassment of residents, workers, and business owners in downtown Ottawa, because they were not able to move around easily, right, generally infringes on the right to peacefully enjoy the peaceful enjoyment of public spaces there. While highly objectionable, it did not amount to any serious violence or threats of serious violence. That's what the court ruled. There was no sign of violence, and there was no any motivation to become violent, or a reason to become violent, right? So that is the reason the court basically said that whatever happened was illegal, and the emergency law should not have been
and it's just a slap on the wrist, nothing more than that. No punishment.
No, it's a slap on the wrist, because you know what, I'll tell you something. The government of Canada, the Melanie Joly, the deputy prime minister, she did a press conference and she said, oh, no, this is all this is normal. And sorry, not Melanie Joly, Chrystia Freeland, the deputy prime minister, said the government will appeal the ruling. I would just like to take a moment to remind Canadians of how serious the situation was in our country when we took that decision. It was just beyond anything. It was like a third, fourth world war that was happening with the truckers. And then they had tanks, they had ammunition, they had missiles, they had AK-47s, they had B-2 bombers and all that.
Same like Saddam Hussein had nuclear bombs.
Yeah, exactly. So the weapons of mass destruction was with the truckers. So we had no choice but to bring the emergency law. That's what Ms. Freeland is saying.
But
it's all crap. So
but Vinay Ji, I can say you many people, including us, who visited the spot in Ottawa, we realized that it was a loving atmosphere. There was no racism. There was no general complaints. Whatever
among the
hear
truckers,
was,
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
not with the truckers at all. It was a loving, family friendly atmosphere. And see here, this happened 2 days back or last week. We did a video on it, how a reporter asking question was manhandled by the Canadian deputy prime minister. And so
exactly. I mean, she is full of lies, and we know that. The only good thing that happened is not all politicians are like that. At least the Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre, he brought donuts, coffee to the protesters during the blockade and condemned Mr. Trudeau on Twitter, formerly, on X, sorry, formerly Twitter, writing that he broke the highest law in the land with the Emergencies Act. And he added that Mr. Trudeau caused the crisis by dividing people. Then he violated the Charter of Rights to illegally suppress citizens. So this is what. So the invocation of the Emergencies Act is one of the worst examples of government overreach during the pandemic. And this was a comment made by Joanne Barron, Executive Director of the Canadian Constitution Foundation.
And that continues even today. Like this man was, how the reporter was manhandled just for asking a simple question.
Exactly. So where is the freedom of speech? Where is the freedom of expression?
And he goes and blabbers the same thing again and again, parroting the same thing. But Vinay Ji, I have one last question for you. Everybody talks about Justin Trudeau, but nobody talks about his partner. Okay, Jagmeet Singh. He is equal partner in the crime. How do you think this will affect him, or he will go scot-free?
No. I mean, like, end of the day, when it comes to these things, right? He kind of he's the guy who kind of supporting the government, and without his the government cannot pass any such policies. But when it comes down to reporters, facing reporters or facing journalists or whoever, right? The Mr. Jagmeet Singh has a nice dog and pony show that he puts on, and kind of slides off of like as if he's got body oil all over his body. He just slides off, like nobody can touch him. So this is the unfortunate part. But end of the day, the voters have realized, the people of Canada have realized, the public has realized, and they know what's going on with this bad nexus between NDP and Liberals. So the 2025 elections that are coming up in about a year or so, that's going to tell you exactly what
that means. You vote to a Khalistani terrorist sympathizer, okay, Jagmeet Singh, is vote to Justin Trudeau. Do you agree or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
It means either you cannot say, well, I am not for Justin Trudeau, but I am for Jagmeet Singh. That means you are the idiot they are looking for.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you, Vinay Ji, for joining us and explaining everything. Friends, what do you think about the Bogie of Canada run by the Liberal and NDP government, saying freedom of speech, Canada is a rule of law, all those parroting cliches? What do you think? Do you think the people will remember it and give them a befitting reply in the election? What do you think? Will you fire them or will you hire them? Do comment and let us know. We would love to hear your opinion, and looking forward to talking to you soon. Thank you, Vinay Ji, again.
Thank you, Ji.
And see you in the next video. Till then, Jai Sri Ram. Jai Sri Ram.